Coming up on Locked On Now NBA, team and league records set in Memphis as the Grizzlies dominate the Thunder. Our Locked On hosts are here with everything you need to know from around the league last night on Locked On Now.
The biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Now NBA, local experts on the biggest stories on the hardwood. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. Our Locked On NBA hosts are here to break everything down for you from Thursday night. The Chicago Bulls and New York Knicks met for the third time this season and put on another good show in our biggest game.
The biggest game.
The Bulls led by a huge margin in New York early last night, but the Knicks came back in the third and made it a great game right down to the finish. Chicago pulled it together late, though, and got the win, and Locked On Bulls tells you how.
What's up, Bulls Nation? Matt Peck here from Locked On Bulls with your post-game takeaway. I think it's safe to say that this Bulls-Knicks rivalry is back. This was the third meeting between these teams already this season. The Bulls win this one 119-115. They've gotten 2 of 3 from the Knicks this season. And this looked like a runaway for the Bulls, who led by as many as 21. But yet another lethargic third quarter allowed the Knicks to creep back into this one. And the Knicks even briefly took the lead back in the fourth quarter. But DeMar DeRozan's steady hand, as it has been all season long, he had the Bulls' first 10 points of the fourth quarter, timely 3-point shots from Nikola Vucevic, who again showed up big tonight with 27 more points after his big 30-point night against Charlotte, and Zach LaVine, a key moment where instead of an off-balance three that he probably would have taken last season, attacked the rim in a one-possession game, got to the free throw line, and knocked down some big free throws late in this game. All three of the Bulls' big three contributing to this fourth quarter closeout to put the Bulls at 15-8 on the season. Big win over the Knicks, and the Bulls stay in New York to face the Brooklyn Nets in a couple of days. The Bulls got the better of the Nets back at the United Center earlier this season. For a full breakdown of this win over the Knicks, check out our Friday episode of Locked On Bulls with me and my guy, Big Dave, wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Bulls, your team every day.
The Knicks once again had some issues with the officiating, but the truth is they just didn't have enough to hold on for the win at home. Locked On Knicks has more on the tough loss.
Hey everyone, Alex Wolf from Locked On Knicks here, and the Knicks lose 119-115 to the Bulls at home. They're now sitting at 11-11, 500 for the season, and certainly I think the Knicks are probably wishing that they hadn't had the bad games that they had against some subpar teams earlier in the season, like the Magic, because they really could use those wins right now. But this is a pretty good game, all in all. The first half was terrible. The Knicks went in at half down 19. They storm back in the second half and make it into a game, tie things up, even take the lead in the fourth quarter. They just couldn't quite hold on. Julius Randle had a fantastic game, catching a lot of heat from fans online for missing a couple of key free throws and having a bad turnover, but all in all had 30 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 67% shooting from the floor. You can't really fault him too much because they wouldn't have been in this game without his efforts. But tough loss for the Knicks. Unfortunately, the schedule is still kind of hard. They have the Nuggets coming in for a matinee on Saturday, so going to have to get some sleep these next 2 nights and be ready for that early start on Saturday if they want to right the ship here. But I'll have more later on Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast.
The Toronto Raptors used a big second half from Fred VanVleet to knock off the Bucks. Locked On Raptors tells us how the champs went down, courtesy of a player with some title experience of his own.
Holy crap, Fred VanVleet. I'm Sean Woodley here from Locked On Raptors on the floor of Scotiabank Arena right after the Raptors' 97-93 win over the Milwaukee Bucks, who did not have Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight. He was a late scratch, but still, this is a big get-well win for the Raptors, who have really struggled lately. And the big takeaway here is that Fred VanVleet continues to play all-star level basketball for this Raptors team. He has been their best player all season long, and tonight, 26 of his 29 points come in the second half. After a first half where the Bucks really gave him problems, they forced the ball out of his hands, basically took him out of the action more often than not. In the second half, he just took over. They got him the ball off the ball a little bit as well too, catch and shoot looks off of screens, things like that. But in the fourth quarter, he really just took this one over, got to the rim at will, just carved up this Milwaukee Bucks defense, was fantastic, and continues to be the best player for this Raptors team. Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes were also really good in this one. By the way, Scotty Barnes all of a sudden is shooting 37.5% from three on nearly 2 attempts a game after hitting 3 more tonight on 6 attempts. And it was just a nice team effort from the Raptors. They got some help in the form of a bench unit that has not been providing anything positive so far this year. And they had a really good game in this one as well. But ultimately, it's Fred VanVleet that took this one home for the Toronto Raptors. I'll have more broken down from this game on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Raptors, so be sure to tune in.
Today's edition of Locked On Now brought to you by Built Bar. It's the best tasting protein bar that's out there. It's low calorie, low carb, low sugar, even low fat, but it is high in protein. So more importantly than that, it tastes great and it comes in tons of different flavors. There's something for everybody, and it's made with 100% real chocolate. So you definitely want to head over to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order at built.com. Welcome back to Locked On Now NBA. I'm Kainani Stevens. The Memphis Grizzlies beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in a way no other NBA team has done in history last night for our best performance.
The best performance.
Hold up.
Now, the Grizzlies scored a franchise record in points, but also set the NBA record for biggest win ever with their 73-point massacre over the Thunder. Locked On Grizzlies has just a couple of good things that they want to talk about post-game.
Good evening to each of you. I'm not sure how your NBA team may be doing tonight, but my team, the Memphis Grizzlies, yes, the Memphis Grizzlies that have lost 6 games now by more than 20 points each this season. Yeah, those Memphis Grizzlies just set the NBA record for the biggest win differential in league history. A 73-point win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. An unbelievable record-breaking performance for the Grizzlies, setting the franchise record for most points in a game, most assists in a game, and yes, once again, the largest victory margin in NBA history. Jaren Jackson Jr. had another historical performance himself, but it was the bench. It was a complete team effort from the Grizzlies. 8 players were a plus 20 tonight. 5 players were a plus 39. Santi Aldama, in the biggest game that he's had in his career by far, a career-high 18 points. Everyone on the bench, 9 players in double figures, a complete team victory. And to remind you once again, all of this happened without John Morant. On a historically amazing game, a historical night for the Memphis Grizzlies. This and much more on the post-game edition of the Locked On Grizzlies podcast. 73 points. 73! Go Grizz!
How big will the winning streak get? The Suns kept it going by beating the Pistons. They've improved to 19-3 on the season. Locked On Suns has the recap as Phoenix hit 18 wins in a row.
18 straight wins for the Phoenix Suns, setting a new franchise record. Brendan Clean here from the Footprint Center. As you can see, everybody celebrating, having a very good night. A win over the Pistons, probably one that shouldn't have been as close as it was. The Suns give up a double-digit lead. Cade Cunningham goes off in the third quarter in the second half, and some timely threes by Detroit. But obviously, this team, crunch time is the best time, and so they execute late as they always do, come away with the W. 18 in a row, have not lost since October when Harrison Barnes beat them on a buzzer beater. They'll look to keep this streak alive. 19, maybe head toward 20 with a huge matchup just flexed to national TV against the Golden State Warriors on Friday night in San Francisco. No Devin Booker still. So for more on this team as they keep it going. Listen to Locked On Suns wherever you get your podcasts.
That's a wrap for us. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every day. For more on the association and your team, make sure you check out Locked On NBA and your team's Locked On podcast. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Now.